What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle. Today in the world of indie games, we're going to be taking a look at a title that many people may have forgotten about at this point because it just hasn't really gotten that many updates. This is one of those games that gets like one chunky update a year, and then you kind of put it on the shelf, and this time around it's been about a year and a half since the game had an update. But man, oh man, the developers just popped out, they just popped back, and they just showed up with a big chunky update that adds all kinds of new stuff to the game, really opens up the sandbox. So today we're going to be taking a look at Stoneshard. If you've never seen Stoneshard before, if you don't know what Stoneshard is one of the more hardcore RPGs out there. It's also one of the more immersive RPGs out there. It's a game that has a tremendous amount of content to offer as of this new patch. It's a very difficult game. It's a very challenging game. It's a game that is definitely going to keep you on your toes. It's going to keep you scared. Like, no matter how far you get in, the game is nerve-wracking. And so today we're going to take a look at it for, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes, maybe more, just because I like the game so much. We'll go ahead and check it out for about 30 minutes. I'm updating my coverage right now. I know that I've covered this many times in the past, and my general impression is that you guys hate it when I check up on games. But in the case of this game, I have been one of this game's biggest cheerleaders, and so I figured I owed it to it now that they're back with content. If after watching this you wanted to get access to the early access for yourself, you can do that down below in the description. I have a link for you. This is the first time that I would say, yes, I recommend this game wholeheartedly with the density of content that is in here. I will do my best during the course of this video to kind of like show you the things that they've added to the game. I'll also try to drop some tips on in there because the new build of the game is especially vicious, especially nasty, and honestly there was a big learning curve for me. Even having 100 hours of gameplay here, this game had a fairly considerable learning curve that I had to adapt to once this new patch came out because the game was already pretty difficult. This time around, they've made the game even more challenging, and so let's dive on into some Stoneshard. Link is down below. You can check that out there. You can also take a look at the links that are down there for other things like my Patreon, like my Discord, things like my Twitch stream, other little fun things to play around with and get involved with just in case you wanted to support the Nerdcast a little bit more or hang out with me a little bit more. But for now, what is Stoneshard? Stoneshard is a hardcore open-world RPG in which you are a mercenary that gets you're the first hire for a mercenary company that's been falling on hard times. Basically, they've all been slaughtered, they've all been murdered, and now there's only one of them left. In the tutorial for this game, you play as the character who is the only one left, and that'll give you some root idea of what the storyline is. But basically, they're trying to rebuild from scratch. They're trying to get the mercenary company started back on up, and this takes place in a very violent, very grimdark, very sort of gnarly medieval fantasy universe where, yeah, I mean, take a look at this room right here. Perfect example of what I'm talking about. And it's important for you to note that in this game, you are not the hero of the story. I cannot stress that to you enough. In this game, you are just some guy with a martial history that is signing on with this mercenary company because you wanted to make some cash. What that means is when you approach challenges and difficulties in this game, you should treat it realistically because in this game, 3 or 4 swipes from a sword can kill you, and the earlier parts of this game are incredibly difficult. I would say this game is up there with Caves of Cud. I would say that this game is up there with Battle Brothers, where this is a game that the early game is just entirely random. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. When you're like a level 1, level 2 character, you're just kind of gonna die a lot, and there's a lot of challenges that you've really got to think your way through and kind of cheeseball your way through if you want to survive. But once you've got 5 or 6 levels under your belt, that's when the game is really gonna open up. Once you've got some equipment, once you've gotten a little bit stronger, and that's when you're gonna be able to start taking on jobs that are legendary, getting even cooler gear and magic and things of that nature. As of right now, there is no character creation inside the confines of this game. That is one of those things that's one of my sticking points. I really, really, really want character creation in this game, and character creation just hasn't been put in yet. As it stands right now, you're going to start out with one of, I think, 4 characters, maybe 5, that have their own predetermined looks and whatnot and their own predetermined skills, and you're kind of going to build off the top of that. Right now I'm playing as Arna. Arna is a hedge knight, basically, a knight whose family has fallen into disarray, and now she travels the land doing deeds of honor and valor and wiping out enemies and killing everybody that threatens normal law-abiding people. She's very chivalrous, but there's other characters in there too. There's a dwarvish berserker who flat out doesn't care about anybody and is basically just a murderous psycho. There's an archer, there's a wizard, and then I think there's a pikeman who I also very much enjoy playing because the pikeman has a lot of control over the battlefield as he moves throughout the game. Like, he's got the most control because he can guide people around and move them around and punish them for being moved into certain spots with his Volge or with his pike or with his spear or whatever else you might have. And so we're playing as Arna, the Hedge Knight. She's my favorite character. I think she's the one that I've probably, in the 100 hours that I've played this game, probably about half of it has been on Arna. But I have played the game as the Archer, I have played the game as the Pikeman, and I have played the game as the Berserker. I haven't played the Wizard too much. Ooh, a super rare chest piece. Nice. This game has qualities just like Diablo does, so you never know what you're going to find deep down inside the dungeon. Right now, I'm clearing vampires out of a place. There was the stink of dead bodies coming out of this dungeon. And so the magistrate sent me on over to investigate and to make sure that the stink is gotten rid of because it's making people sick. And so we're burning bodies down inside of a dungeon. As it stands right now, the same factions that we had the last time we covered the game are still front and center here. So the dungeons are largely undead, ghouls, and vampires. Though that's the vast majority of the dungeons that you're going to do as the game stands right now. I do think that it could use a few more factions being added on in. Maybe there is in this patch. I've played this character for about 9 hours in preparation for this video, and I haven't seen anything new, but there are rare dungeons that you get as well when you, like, max out your reputation with certain factions, and they will send you to go fight legendary enemies like Wendigos and trolls and things of that nature that come with enormous price tags on their heads if you can bring them down, much in the same way that in Battle Brothers, when you get to a certain level, you're going to be fighting against the Kraken, you're going to be fighting against, you know, the crazier stuff like the Goblin King. This game has that as well, so there is kind of a progression. On top of that, the enemies do upgrade as you gain levels and as you try harder missions, so they don't scale. I want to make that clear because I know some people feel really, really negatively about level scaling, and I would count myself amongst their number, but the enemies do not scale. The enemies have basically a difficulty rating when you take a quest, and the difficulty rating determines what the enemies might be equipped with or what they might have. Wow, these guys were really stocked up on books. Big readers inside of this dungeon. Backpacks are one of the new additions to the game. I think in the previous version of the game that I played, backpacks were in, but backpacks, there was only like one of them. And it was a considerable trade-off as to whether or not you wanted to equip it, but it gives you more inventory slots, Tarkov style. The other big addition that we're going to be taking a look at today is that the Caravan mechanics are actually in the game. So I can give you guys kind of a loosey-goosey list of what's been added into this build of the game. They've added an entire crafting system, multiple different crafting systems in all honesty. There's cooking, there's crafting, there's armor repairing, there's all kinds of things that they've added on into the game with the Caravan update. You now officially do have control of your Caravan, so you can use it to go around the map and do what you wish. The Caravan comes with a whole bunch of upgrades that you can grind out and work on that make you more efficient as a mercenary and give you more options. I haven't got to play around with a whole lot of those yet because they're very money hungry. They have completely and totally overhauled the mission system, so in the previous version of the game, missions were basically you just going in and killing a big bad at the bottom of a dungeon. No longer the case. They've added a bunch of different permutations, basically, of the mission. Sometimes you're going in to kill everybody, sometimes you're going in to retrieve objects, sometimes you're burning bodies, and in fact, I think that's actually made the game a little bit easier when it comes to completing missions, is because sometimes you walk into a dungeon and your objective will be in the second room after you kill 2 guys and you'll just get a free paycheck for doing that. But this is our Caravan. This was in the last version of the game, but it has been widely expanded. And so this is the Caravan menu right here. It comes chock-a-block with loads and loads of upgrades that you can play around with that allows you to do all kinds of things. I mean, you can get messenger pigeons that you can carry around with you so that you can send a messenger pigeon to your boss and tell him to move the caravan and come meet you. You get like a web of contacts. You get more reputation for things. You can get more storage. You can make it so that your caravan moves faster so that you're not wasting time and money moving around the map. You can make your horses more efficient so they don't eat quite as much food. You can get crafting benches. You can get training areas for testing out your DPS. You can get praying spots so that you can get blessings on your character. You can get employees that work inside these things. And so pretty big update right there. On top of that, they've completely and totally redone the skill trees. And so coming back to the game, you are going to have to relearn the game. The old tricks are not going to work because a lot of the old abilities, passives, and things that you used to be able to do have either been repositioned on the tech tree or they've been removed and replaced entirely. And so a pretty big and chunky update. Having burned all of our bodies here, like you will do every single time, I need to go back to the magistrate and let him know that the job is done. However, we did level up along the way. If you were curious about how the game's customization works, your character gets XP for every single kill. In fact, for a lot of the things you do inside of this game, you get XP for it. Everything from disarming traps to reading books to finding out lore. You're going to get more XP. When you level up, you get 1 attribute point. All of these attributes make something about your character better. Strength makes you hit harder. Agility makes it so that you have a higher chance to counterblow your enemy. Perception makes you more accurate and makes you pierce through the enemy's armor with your damage better. Vitality gives you HP and energy. Willpower is going to make you better at casting abilities and things of that nature. And then at certain thresholds, these will get a big boost. So every 5 points, basically, you get a fat chunk of bonuses for putting things in here. Right now, I'm working on perception and strength because I want the perception bonus for having more vision range and having a higher crit chance and a higher miracle chance. This game has like these random things that can happen in combat where your character will basically do the same thing that they do in Darkest Dungeon. They have a chance to break or they have a chance to be heroic, and this game has that exact same thing going on where you can become heroic, get all your health back from like 5 health, and then get a huge amount of buffs for like the next 40 turns because your character's decided it's not their time to die, and that's what miracle chance kind of ties into, and it's really, really useful, and it saved me a couple times. So having an even higher chance to get that done would be good. I'm going to let the magistrate know that I am done with the quest. There it is. I am now respected. This game does have a reputation system that will allow you to become more famous in the areas that you're operating, and you get different bonuses. Another thing that they've added with this patch is that there's now trading. So if you are the kind of person that just likes moving stuff around the map, you can do that now. You can buy bales of cotton. You can buy loads of iron. You can buy trade goods and other goods, and there's an entire economy attached to the game now so that when you're moving in between locations, you can buy out all the things that they produce here and sell cheap here, and then sell them in a major city or something like that, which will then allow you to make a little bit of extra scratch cash off the top. The other half of character customization is that you get access to skill trees. These are also much more populated than they were the last time I played the game, although all of the magics are still not in. You are still confined to fire, earth, and electricity if you wanted to play a magic caster, but all of these trees have been rebuilt, everything's been moved around, and I'm pretty happy with it so far. In addition, they've refreshed up all of the points of interest on the map as well. These are actually worth going to now and have new things inside of them, by the way. And so be careful, though. Some of these places, I'll give you an example of my character not being the hero. I went to one of these question marks, and it was a caravan that had been killed by spiders the size of horses. And with like 23 damage on my weapon, I could only hit them for 1 damage, and they one-shotted me instantly. And so the world is full of challenge and terror out there. Keep your head down when investigating those locations because you can get yourself into some serious trouble. Having rebooted now, not the game, but having rebooted my adventuring, I just picked up a quest to go kill a bunch of undead that are occupying a crypt. This should be a fairly easy quest because this is the low-level zone. But I find that it's a really good idea to go back to the low-level zones and just knock out all of their missions really quickly every now and again, because that's like $1,500 in your pocket with 0 risk, and this is a pretty risky game when you're doing the harder quests, and so it can give you a nice little batch of money to kind of upgrade your gear in between going back to fight with other things. One thing that is controversial about this game is the saving system. So this game only saves when you sleep. They have not changed that since the game came out. So make sure that you're sleeping before you go do adventures. I've got to walk a long, long way. If we die during this mission, it's going to be a considerable walk back to where we came from. But it's a good opportunity for me to graze and kind of move around the landscape and maybe get some stuff, because foraging and hunting and all that kind of stuff, that's actually a major part of the game now. And the reason for that is pretty simple, actually. The things afield now have tangible uses, which you need to craft with them. So, like, while you're out in the middle of the wilderness, for example, gathering up herbs and spices and blueberries and things of that nature, you're also going to be fighting wolves, and you're going to be fighting bad guys that drop hides and things of that nature. You need those for crafting as well. So pretty much everything in the game now has a crafting utilitarian use. And if I can give you a tip as a new player to this game, if you're having trouble making money in the early game, I fully expect this to get nerfed, but I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Blueberries, acorns, herbs, all of those things can be crafted from level 1 into fodder, which is what you use to feed the horses in your caravan. This fodder right here, it sells, 100 stack of fodder sells for 50 bucks, and you should be able to farm up 100 fodder in like a couple of minutes, basically. And so it's not the worst plan ever as a new character just to go out and explore the open world, have adventures, but the entire time be foraging and getting like 600, 700, 800 fodder in your inventory. Take it back to town and sell it for 500 bucks, which is more than you get paid for a quest, and that should allow you to upgrade your gear a little bit. It's what I've been doing while playing the game, while adjusting to the new level of difficulty. And so the world feels much more alive. It feels like it has much more utility. The world doesn't feel like it's a big open empty nothingness anymore, because you're constantly gathering things while traveling, just to financially bolster yourself and also to make sure the caravan keeps running. After a good long walk, we've arrived at the destination for our fight, but we are hungry right now, so I need to feed myself. I'm gonna go ahead and eat a sausage real quick. Maybe I'll eat 2 sausages real quick just to get my hunger down. There's not a lot of food around, so whatever we do, we need to take care of this dungeon very quickly so that I don't starve to death. There are absolutely survival mechanics in this game, and those survival mechanics come with their own sets of buffs and debuffs and things of that nature when you go down into adventuring. So this undead dungeon shouldn't be too much of a challenge for our character. I'm pretty strong compared to these mobs inside of here. I'm using tier 2 weaponry and armor, and this is a tier 1 dungeon, but the core way that the game functions is actually that it's just turn-based. It's you go, I attack them, they attack me, back and forth, but there's a whole bunch of things underneath the surface of this game that are functioning. A bird's candle holder. I'll take that. There are a bunch of different dice rolls being made underneath the surface as well, that you need to be aware of if you want to play the game effectively. I searched out those traps right there because on my 4 hotkey I've got search for traps, which I recommend every single time you step into a new room. You should search the room 2 to 3 times for traps. Traps in this game are realistic. Like I said, you're not the hero. If you step on a spike trap and it impales you with 4-foot spikes, you're gonna be in bad shape. You're gonna take 30 or 40 damage out of your 100 HP, and you're probably gonna have a whole bunch of wounds that you have to deal with on the positional spots of your body as well, and if it happens in the middle of combat, that's gonna be a really bad thing for you. These traps can be disabled, but I don't know if I want to. Because if we fail to disable it, what's my chance to disarm? 50-50? Oh, it's 100% with a crowbar. All right, I'll use my crowbar then. I did bring a crowbar because I knew we were going to be grave robbing. Let's break it up with some of these pots over here because they drop ancient coins and jewelry all the time. And I'm trying to make as much money as physically possible while I'm down here. Each one of those ancient coins is worth $5, so you kind of want to grab as many of them as you can. I don't know, I guess a lot of people in this world of medieval shenanigans enjoy numismatism. Let's be very careful in here. Okay, nothing in that sarcophagus. A unidentified ring in there. Sometimes you get cursed. And sometimes bad guys come out of the coffins, so be careful about it. Somebody heard me break that pot. That's right. Enemies in this game have both sight and sound hearing. They can hear you doing things and will come investigate. However, as I can see right now, the game doesn't seem to have like a stealth system in it or anything else like that. But then again, I've only been playing the night, and so I don't know how... Ooh, a blue ring, huh? It's pretty chewed on. Like, it's pretty scuffed, but maybe... Hey, more ancient coins. Nice. Give them to me. And these are being automatically added to our coin purse over here. The game is absolutely full of interesting mechanics, or I guess interesting visual flares. Like if I take all the coins out of the coin purse, it changes its graphic. Everything in the game does that. So a pot full of water looks different from an empty pot. Armor that is undamaged looks different from armor that is half damaged, looks different from armor that is completely damaged. Even your character, when your character gets wounded, they get the Doom Guy thing going on where they have blood running down their armor and they have like a black eye and blood's coming out of their mouth, and it just gets worse and worse and worse until you die. Sir, can you die for me, please? Thank you. I'm going to disarm that just because I get, I think, 25 XP for disarming a trap. Search this room for traps. More ancient coins. They add up. If you make it out of a dungeon, like how many have we got? We've gotten 31 so far. They're worth $4 a piece, sorry. We've gotten 31 of them so far. And they also, a piece of leather. That's part of the new repairing system. You can find armor parts laying around. In fact, the Knight has a special ability where anytime she kills somebody that's wearing armor, you recover chunks of that armor and can use them to repair your armor. At this point in the game, I'm not going up against that many enemies that have armor, but when I've done some higher tier, more difficult quests, they drop armor shards all over the place in order to make things happen. So that shout right there, that's a war shout. It confuses the enemy and causes them to have like a 50% chance to wander around randomly every single turn instead of attacking you, and it lasts for like 8 turns. If you're playing a melee or martial class, I cannot recommend this ability enough as one of your first picks. Warcry is goated as hell for new characters, because what's going to happen with a new character is new characters in this game can usually 1v1, but this game is not interested in allowing you to 1v1. From the beginning of the game, you're going to be going up against fights. Oop, Necromancer. Let's break his line of sight. You're going to be going up against 2v1s, 3v1s, 4v1s. Anything that allows you to crowd control and keep the enemy up out of your business is exactly what you want to do. I'm going to cleave him right there. So the abilities on my bar right now, I have Cleaving Strike. Cleaving Strike has a huge chance to wound a body part on the enemy and make them slower or make them weaker at fighting or knock the weapon out of their hand. It also has a huge chance to put a bleed on the enemy. And I don't know what video games you've been playing, but bleeds in Stoneshard are built different from bleeds in other games. You really, really need to take that into account. Always have bandages on you. Always have some way to staunch bleeding, because you have 100 HP as the game sits right now when you're at level 1. And every single bleed tick, every single turn is going to be like 7 to 10 damage. So you're losing almost 10% of your health every turn when you've got a bleed on you and you're gushing blood everywhere. That's why when you're playing against the AI, they will skip a turn mid-combat in order to bandage themselves, is because there's a really solid chance you're going to die horribly from a bleed. We've got a Geomancy Treatise. I'm going to read that real fast. That'll unlock a whole bunch of skills inside Geomancy. My character's not a caster, so it doesn't really matter, but who knows? Books are also very valuable. I'm going to go ahead and rearrange everything in my inventory too. You can put gems and valuables inside of coin purses now, which is a very, very nice change. In fact, I would say it's an exceptionally good change. So if you're cruising around and you find something like a sapphire, it no longer takes up inventory space. You just put it inside your purse real quick. Absolutely in love with that change, because inventory management has always been a tough thing about this game because the inventory is so small. With backpacks, it gets a little bit bigger, and there's some pretty big backpacks that I've seen so far. But you're going to have the money to get those big backpacks. Break that open with the crowbar. Search it for traps. A foot. Okay, $2 is good, though. I'll take $2. Any money I walk out of here with that I didn't have when I came in, I'm all good for. And I guess we've completed our quest already as well. It's saying that it's time for me to go, but I'm willing to bet there's more loot inside of here that I have not gotten access to. And because quests are time-gated in this title, you kind of want to get every last penny you can out of every single mission. Ooh, there's a good one. Okay, throw that in there. We've got another candelabra. We've got 19 ancient coins. It looks like we've got a magic belt and a rare ring, so that's good. 2 enchanted items inside of there. I don't know if that's going to translate to any kind of, like, second-hand gear in this game doesn't sell for very good prices, so I don't get crazy excited when I find second-hand gear. Carved figurine, I think that's worth like 10 bucks. Yeah, it's not worth much, but it's worth something. Let's crack this last door open right here. Hey, I'll take it. It's more than I was walking away from here before. The game does have a fast travel system now. In fact, it has 2 fast travel systems. One of them existed in the previous version of the game, but it could only go to set points. Now you've got the Caravan, which if you have enough food for your horses, you can just move the Caravan whenever you want. And there's also a guy with a cart and a horse that you can pay to drive you around, and he can take you anywhere on the map as well as sort of like a stopgap. On top of that, for quality of life, they've added checkpoints now. Every 3 or 4 tiles on the map, there will be a checkpoint. And checkpoints always have a camp outside of them that you can sleep inside of to save your game real quick, to save you a little bit of time. And once you get to a certain part of the game, this guy, which is one of the fast travel methods, will be at every single one of these checkpoints as well, so that you can get around a little bit more quickly. However, it does cost you money, and so you need to leverage the fact that it's probably going to cost you about a quarter of what you get paid for your mission just to get a ride back to town. It saves you like 15-20 minutes. It'll save you like 10 minutes or so, but it's going to cost you. And so there's been some really good quality of life improvements done to just generally navigating the map and going around and making sure you always have a save point that's 1 or 2 tiles away from where you need to be. We finished the contract. There's our paycheck right there. So that should be easy enough to put together. I'm just going to merge these all to the side. And having now made 1,200 bucks, I need to go sell my stuff. So I will do exactly that, and then I'll come back with the stacks of cash that I've got, and we'll figure out whether or not we're ready to caravan to another spot and buy ourselves some upgrades at one of the more populated regions of the world. Now, having sold all my stuff, they don't have enough identify scrolls in town for me to find out what these are, but one of the rings has 2 modifiers on it and gives me piercing resistance, and it gives me some extra energy for my energy meter to offset the fact that I'm wearing heavy armor, and so that's a really, really good thing to pick up when you're playing as Arna. So that's kind of making up for one of our shortcomings, is that we wear very heavy armor, and as a result of wearing that very heavy armor, we have a very short energy meter, which means we can pop less abilities in combat, and so finding ways to negate that and even it on out is going to be really helpful. Let's get this caravan moving. So in order to move the caravan, all we really need to do is we've got to talk to Varin, and then we say we're ready to hit the road, and where it wants me to go is over here, but Leaf Forest is too far. Gotcha. So I need to, like, find my way over there first. All right, well, then what we'll do is I'll check some of the more developed. Let's go right there, I guess. Yeah, let's embark. And so they're going to break down the camp right here, and then we're just going to hit the road. If I was particularly smart, I would have bought out all the trade goods inside of there and taken them all the way down to another part of the game where you get really good prices for those items. But I'm being lazy right now. Whatever. Doesn't really matter altogether that much. And just like that, we're in a new place. It was that simple. Now that we've arrived at our new digs, it's not new digs, I've already been here and done all the quests and everything else. I just haven't made it up to the northwest yet to fool around with other stuff. I also haven't, like, gone down to Bryn yet. I've gone to Bryn before in other playthroughs and gotten all their quests done and stuff like that. But I haven't done it yet. I need to, though. I'm kind of getting to the point where Bryn quests are on queue for where I'm at. But let's see what we got going on here. Oh my god, buildings burned down. Okay. We don't have an enormous amount of money, but I wanted to see if there was maybe a sword upgrade out here. Like, I feel like I want to deal more damage. There is a sword upgrade, but it's going to cost us 1,500 bucks to get a guild blade. but that extra 21% or that extra 3 damage right there, I know it doesn't sound like much, but 3 damage is actually kind of dope in this game. Like, that's a huge upgrade, and you're going to notice your killing power go through the roof when you go from like a 15 damage weapon to an 18 damage weapon, especially if all of its little mods right there are eliminating malices that you might have from other pieces of equipment. What about you? They've got two-handers. I mean, two-handers are a lot of fun. I did a two-hander playthrough a while back that I thought was really enjoyable. It was up on Twitch, but they take down the VODs after 90 days, so not so much anymore. He did have a quest here that we can play around with. It's in Raven Hill, and I guess there's some kind of grimoire or something that I've got to recover from some kind of evil bad guy. Let me refuel, get some food in my tank, and then we'll head on down that way, and I'll kind of talk you through it, and let's head on over to Raven Hill. I wonder if any points of interest are going to come up when I come over here. I'll probably just go up one and then just cut left hella hard. So let's see what awaits us on the road. This area is blighted, so as you're walking around, you'll see like birds fall out of the sky and die. I was hoping that once I resolved like their main storyline over here, that would not happen and like birds would stop falling from the air, but I guess not. I don't know why all the birds are poisoned around here and stuff. Either that or it's because all of the plants are rotting due to the season, and eating rotten plants does poison you, and so I'm wondering if that's an oversight with the patch where the birds are all eating off the bushes that are rotten because they have to feed themselves or whatever as part of the simulation. It's making them all sick and die. I don't know. After they get sick and die from poison, you're not allowed to like eat them anyways, so it's not really that helpful or utilitarian to me, but I'm going to do that. Get them all nice and debuffed, so it looks like we're going to have a fun little side adventure on our way to the dungeon. I need you to die, please. Thank you. And you think you're getting away, but you're definitely not getting away. I'm a killer in this game. I don't let nobody escape. All right, let's grab some crowns over here. He had an apple on him. That's nice. Apple a day, dude. We won't need the doctor. Not really too much to craft fodder with for right now. I always try to craft up like 50 to 100 fodder every time I go anywhere, just because I don't like farming for it when I need it. I just like to have it on hand when I want to move around the map and go somewhere else. There's another village up to the northwest, too, that I think that I'd like to get after, but I haven't seen it yet. It's a new village that they added. Oh, this is the place. We got here already. All right, Raven Hill Cemetery. Lots of poppies and things growing around. Let's get in here and see what kind of trouble we can get into. Search for traps a little bit. We got a couple of spearmen over here, which is actually kind of a problem. It's not great because they can strike from 2 tiles away, so I'm going to get them with my shout real quick. Double crits. Wow, good stuff. Step back towards the gate. Get my shield up. Got a nice counter right there, but we are a little bit low on health. I will step over here and then get a free swing on him. Get him with a big cleave. Unfortunately, you can't really wound the hell out of skeletons, but that was a tough one right there. That was a little bit nastier of a fight. We got a little tiny bit scuffed right there. He had a magic spear. I'm not going to pick it up because it takes up too much space. And when I go into undead dungeons like this, I'm looking for little stuff like gemstones and coins. At least that's what I'd prefer to be after. Any traps in here? No traps in here, so that's good. 1 ancient coin. Better than no ancient coins, I suppose. And we've got a bronze horse statuette. Okay. I'm going to eat all these berries real quick, too, so that my hunger isn't going down for a little bit. Like, they nerfed the things that you forage from the map. They're not as strong as they used to be. It used to be the case that if you got yourself, like, some blueberries... Oh, my God. Okay, we got the goodies inside of there. If you got blueberries, each one reduced your hunger by, like, 1 or 2%. So you could carry them around with you, and you could have an inventory full of them, and when you get to the dungeon, you just eat them all. Now, they nerf your hunger. Like, anything that's forageable makes it so that your hunger doesn't fall off quite as fast. And so you still want to be grazing most of the time, but let's get that going, get that going. He still stepped in. Big crit on the outset right there. Big cleave right there just to get some damage started. His arm's off, so he's not really a threat anymore. I don't know what the hell this spearman's doing. He's like all over the place. There we go. We got him. Alright, so there's no traps in here. We didn't really take any damage from that fight, so that's good. A bronze jug. I will take just about anything that you slap down in front of me. I really do. Oh, there's a necromancer. Christ. Okay. Necromancer's gonna be a little bit of a problem. I'll debuff him real fast so that maybe he fumbles his spells more frequently. But these zombies are gonna... Oh, there's like a bunch of them over here. Okay. Fair enough. That one's got a dagger. I cut the other one's arm off. I need to step up to here. Shield block up. The necromancer actually came into melee. Alright. I'll take that. Normally they don't do that. They sit in the back and they nuke you with magic while everybody else is tanking, but let's rest for a minute, get our HP back. Loving the regeneration that I've got on my gear right now. It's making me heal back up very quickly. You won't necessarily notice it like, ooh, a silver nugget. Sure. I like precious metals in all kinds of nugget-like forms. I'll take that. A few more ancient coins. I don't want the end of a candle, though. I don't think the end of a candle is going to be that beneficial to me. Ow, magic in my butthole. Magic in my beehole. The AI's gotten smarter too, by the way. The AI, if you try to break line of sight, they will no longer risk walking into adjacency with you if they know you're hiding behind something. Instead, they'll swing outwards and try to get line of sight by rotating around you. Very clever stuff. Like I said, they made the game a lot harder to play this time around by removing a lot of the tactical exploits that you would use in like a roguelike or whatever to deal with the enemy having superior numbers. Dude, we are getting paid when we get back to town. So far, this is going really, really well for us. I'm going to step in on him. That stepping move right there, it gives me an automatic counterattack on my next turn. And so if you need to move one step anyways, you might as well get a double attack on the next turn, or like a quasi-double attack on the next turn. I can't see. Okay, so there's like a couple of zombos down here and like skeletors and things. Let's stun them up just to get them up and out of my business. Ah, he shot his own friend. That's what you get, you dweeb. This guy might kite me into something worse, though. Sometimes these little guys with the bows, they'll try to kite you, and it'll drag you into other mobs that are going to be a headache to deal with, especially if it's like a boss or something that's down on in here. But my thoughts about the current build are that it's very, very good. In my opinion, this is the first patch that they've ever released that I thought to myself, okay, that was worth a 1.5 year wait. They have really expanded the game, and they have really added a lot of stuff to it, and they've added a lot of things to play with, to fiddle with, crafting systems. They've added a new village with new quests. I mean, they've expanded out the main narrative storyline as well with a few more steps so that you can see what's going on with that. Like, a lot of really, really good work on this patch, and so I figure it's one of those situations where all good things come to those who wait, I suppose. Let's get them all debuffed real quick, just so there's a chance they'll bypass their turn and just wander around instead of bum rushing me. I don't know exactly what I'm dealing with right now. Oh, the main boss is what I'm dealing with. Ah, and he's resurrecting them. Fantastic. Well, I'm going to run for my life because we do not want to aggro that entire room. That's exactly what I was concerned about. So we're going to bail on out of here, but so far I think this is the patch. Every single time I've covered this game and recommended it before, it's always been with reservations. Like, this game doesn't update very often. There's about 12 hours of content here. You know, all of those kinds of little miniature apologies for the quality of work. But this time around, this patch is a chunky monster that adds a lot of things to work on, a lot of mechanics to play around with. And so if you are looking for a tremendously in-depth RPG with a realistic bent to it that still incorporates magic and sorcery, but in a believable low fantasy sort of Conan the Barbarian style way, this game is pretty sick, my dude. This game is pretty sick, my bro. I am really, really enjoying this patch and all the new items and the new quest modifiers and the new stuff to play around with. I've been seeing new loot and new things like non-stop while playing it, and I would guess I'm already like 10 hours in and I'm only on 2 skull quests right now. I haven't even started with the 3 skulls, and there may be 4 skulls in this patch because they added another city after Bryn, or like another town after Bryn, and I haven't even made it up there yet because the range of my horses isn't far enough to get me there. And so this is a pretty sick come up by comparison to all of the previous builds. Granted, it took us a year and a half to get it, but after seeing how content dense this patch is, I do wish that the patch cycle was faster, but I mean, it's not like, it's clear from this patch that they weren't just sitting around for the last year and a half doing nothing, because this is one of the chunkier patches I've seen for this game and adds all kinds of things to it. So if you already own the game, now's the time to jump back on in. If you don't own the game, but it looks appealing and or interesting to you, I would say right about now is a safe time to get involved with the early access. And I don't think that I've never been able to say that before. Every other time I've recommended it, I've been like, yeah, it's a really, really cool game, but understand you're going to get to a point and the content is just going to end, and there's nothing after that, and then they patch really slow. This right here, pretty dope and pretty enjoyable, and so I'm excited about it. I should be putting some more time into it on my own. I do want to see all the new villages and stuff too as I go on and about, and so I'll see y'all later. Thank you for stopping on in. If you had more things you wanted to see about this game, I've covered it pretty much every major patch since it came out, and so if you wanted to see what Bryn looked like, I think I went there the last time I covered the game. There's all kinds of things for you to take a look at on my history of covering this game. Just search Splattercat Stoneshard, and I'm sure it'll come up. I will catch you all later. Thanks for hanging out with me, and this patch right here was a big ol' home run in my opinion. Really, really good stuff. I'll see y'all later.